Right friends, welcome back to Why and How. This is for 22nd week from 29th May to 4th June. And look at the first one. The Election Commission invited the recognized political parties to an electronic voting machine challenge, and this is known as EVM hackathon. Anyhow, the Election Commission in future is coming up with VVPAT machines, and for the time being this is treated as closed. And if someone talks about EVM hackathon, please don't forget this is to demonstrate whether the machine can be tampered with or not. Then the second one is next plenary session of the nuclear suppliers group is going to be held in Bern, and here please don't forget this is the de facto capital of Switzerland. Bern is the de facto capital, that means it is not officially or legally recognized, but for all practical purposes that is the capital you can say. That means the government and parliament, they are established at Bern. So Bern is the de facto capital of Switzerland, please don't forget. And Switzerland has no official capital, but for all practical purposes Bern is treated as the capital. And the chances for India entry into the elite group looks slim, and China is primarily opposing it. So look into this. This is Bern, Switzerland. And when you look at Switzerland boundaries, please don't forget there are 5 countries which have boundaries with the Switzerland. Land boundary, because Switzerland is a landlocked country, and all of you are familiar with this country, Italy. On one side it is France, this is Germany, this is Austria, and one small country people will normally forget, that is Liechtenstein. So this is a small country here, this is Liechtenstein. So Switzerland has got land frontier with 5 countries, France, then Italy, then Austria, then Germany, then Liechtenstein. So these 5 countries, please do not forget. Then the government is going to launch defense programs worth nearly rupees 2 lakh crore in the strategic partnership model. And the defense procurement policy, which was unveiled some time back, that was launched without a strategic partnership model. And you may have a doubt, what is a strategic partnership model? Strategic partnership model is for the manufacture of various defense components. You see, this is fighter jet, this is a submarine, this is armored vehicle. So these are various types of defense equipments. So bringing in the private sector for the manufacture of various defense components is known as strategic partnership model. So what happens here is the private sector companies will partner with foreign original equipment manufacturers, and then they will establish the production base here, and this is expected to give boost to the manufacturing of high-end defense equipment by private sector companies. And 2 things please don't forget. The concept was first mooted by Dhirendra Singh committee, who submitted his report in July 2015, and subsequently another committee headed by former DRDO chief V.K. Atre was set up to draw the guidelines for selecting Indian private players. And in fact, defense procurement procedure for 2016 was released some time back without this strategic partners and strategic partnerships. Now this will be included in the defense procurement procedure of 2016 as chapter 7. So when you look at this strategic partnership model, this is the model where the Indian reputed private sector companies will be tied up with original equipment manufacturers of foreign countries, and the bases will be established in our country for production of various defense equipments, right? But so far these public sector undertakings, you see in our country there are 9 defense public sector undertakings under the Ministry of Defense. So these public sector undertakings are opposing strategic partnership model because due to the fear of loss of business and expertise. But frankly speaking, the defense public sector undertakings are not working up to the full potential. The performance of this defense public sector undertakings is far from satisfactory. That is the reason why still we dependent upon up to around 70 to 80% of our defense requirements through imports, right? So this is about strategic partnership model. From examination perspective, please don't forget strategic partnership model as well as IDDM as well as offset clause. These three pertains to defense sector. Please don't forget. One is IDDM, second one is strategic partnership model, third one is offset policy. What is offset policy? When we are purchasing defense equipment worth, let us say, 5,000 crores of rupees, then certain percentage is to be manufactured or assembled in our country. That is known as offset clause. Right, friends? Let us go ahead. Reserve Bank of India said that it will reconstitute and expand the Oversight Committee. And Oversight Committee, previously I am talking about before the amendment, Oversight Committee was established only for loans under S4A. We discussed about S4A number of times. Under S4A, Oversight Committee can be established as per the previous legislation. And now after the amendment, now the scope of Oversight Committee is enlarged. So now Oversight Committee can be established for the loans under various mechanisms other than S4A also. So if a loan is resolved under SDR, strategic debt restructuring, or asset reconstruction companies model, then Oversight Committee can be established. So these are the powers which Reserve Bank got subsequent to the amendments. So now what is the meaning of Oversight Committee? Oversight Committee will take the final decision with regard to the recommendations given by the bank officials. Why? Because of the reason now bank officials are fearing to take decisions because of CBI and vigilance cases. So now Oversight Committee will act as protection to the bank officials for taking the daring decisions. Right? Now for most of the loans, government has to forego lot of money. So under these circumstances, now the government is looking at various options to come out of the bad loan crisis. Ultimately, lot of loss is expected to the government, because government is the majority shareholder in public sector banks, and the major problem is in public sector banks, right? So here further changes were also made. Recently some changes were made in the joint lenders forum mechanism. Joint lenders forum is the mechanism for certain types of loans where the banks under consortium lending or multiple banking arrangement. You see, consortium lending means all the four banks came together and gave the loan. Multiple banking arrangement is four banks independently gave the loan. And under these two circumstances, consortium lending and multiple banking arrangements, this joint lenders forum can be established, and some of the rules pertaining to joint lenders forum for solving the stress in the loans is liberalized. Then India and USA are building $1.5 billion satellite which is known as NISAR. What is NISAR? NISAR means NASA ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar. It costs around $1.5 billion, and if you go back to history, Indian Space Agency ISRO in April 2012 launched country's first indigenous radar imaging satellite, or RISAT-1. So first radar imaging satellite or RISAT-1 was launched by ISRO, and it enabled imaging of Earth's surface during day and night under all the weather conditions, right? So this was also called as a spy satellite. Subsequently, USA became interested and negotiations went on for 2 years, and finally a deal for NISAR satellite was signed in 2014, right? So here this NISAR satellite costs $1.5 billion and it is the world's most expensive Earth imaging satellite. It will be put into orbit in 2021 only, and one or two important points, please don't forget. It is designed to observe and take measurements of some of the planet's most complex processes, which include ecosystem disturbances, ice sheet collapses, and natural hazards. So, to look into these aspects, this radar Earth imaging satellite joint venture of India and USA, or you can say ISRO and NASA, is proposed. So, NISAR, please don't forget. At the same time, these things also, please do not forget. Indian Human Microbiome Project. Here, one important aspect is a gram of human stool. Human stool means the feces of the human beings. 1 gram contains about 100 billion bacteria. At the same time, 100 million viruses and fungi as well as microbes known as archaea, and now the microorganisms, mainly bacteria, which are present in the human body, can be very good source for new drugs. So, to look at the preparation of various drugs by looking at the bacteria available in the human beings, this Human Microbiome Project, this was launched at Imphal, Manipur, please don't forget. Then the next one is the government is planning to incentivize manufacturers to set up facilities for making lithium ion batteries in our country. So, this will lower the cost of electric vehicles. Now, the automobile industry is totally dependent on the import of lithium ion batteries. So, this is coming in the way of introducing electric vehicles, and the government is progressively trying to push the sales and production of electric vehicles in the country through schemes such as FAME India. And one important aspect is the biggest constraint is lithium ion batteries, right? FAME India, please don't forget. FAME India is the program over 6 years from 2014 to 2020, where support is being given for hybrid or electric vehicles market development and its manufacturing ecosystem. There are 4 focus areas under FAME scheme: technology development, demand creation, pilot projects, and charging infrastructure. Then World No Tobacco Day was observed on May 31. Theme I have given here: tobacco, a threat to development. And if you go further, during the next 18 months, ISRO is going to launch GSAT 19, GSAT 11 and GSAT 20. And why they are different from others? They are different from others because of one specific reason, that is they are going to have this spot beams. Traditional satellites uses broad single beam to cover wider regions, but these 3 satellites use multiple spot beams, and this is possible with the special type of transponders that will operate on high frequency. So, one important aspect is this spot beam technology. Satellite signals is concentrated so that it covers only a limited geographical area on the earth because of its more power, because the beam is narrower. That means it focuses on only specified area. That means they are powerful. So, the next 3 satellites are going to have this spot beam, because of which what happens? The transfer data capability will be increased, or you can say the capability of providing high quality internet, telephone and video services will increase. So that is the beauty of GSAT 19, GSAT 11, GSAT 20. Then the government is going to launch first of its kind program where the foreign and NRI scientists can work in the country's scientific institutions. From 1 month to 3 months, foreign scientists can work in Indian institutions and they will be paid some fixed salary. And more than all these things, one important point is the name of the program is Vajra. Vajra means visiting advanced joint research. Right, let us go ahead. The Law Commission in its 268th report recommended release of under trials who have served 1/3 of the maximum possible sentence subject to certain conditions. So here you may have a doubt what is meant by under trial. Under trial is the prisoner in jail during an investigation. In our country, it is a common practice that investigation goes on for years. And these unfortunate people are landed up in the jails for 5 years, 10 years because investigation will continue for such longer durations. So the existing system of bail in India is also inadequate and inefficient. What happens is the powerful people will get bail immediately, but the poor people, they are not getting bail that easy. Even though they are getting bail, then the problem is they have to furnish bond. They may not be in a position to furnish bond. So in our country, this system is totally favoring the rich people, right? So as to come out of it, Law Commission recommended that after completing certain period, then the under trials can be released. Here the important point is at the end of 2015, Indian jails had 2.82 lakh under trials, which constitute 67% of the prisoners. And this itself shows that the inadequate justice system in our country, and close to half of them are below the age of 30. So under these circumstances, Law Commission proposed that those detained for an offence that would attract up to 7 years imprisonment be released on completing 1/3 of the period. At present, the rule is Section 436 of Criminal Procedure Code says that a prisoner shall be released on bail on personal bond if he or she has undergone detention of half the maximum period of imprisonment specified for that offence. And the most important point in our country is delay remains the primary source of injustice, right? The Global Burden of Disease report published by the famous world-class health magazine Lancet put India at 154th position out of 195 countries. So it assesses the quality, accessibility of health care, and that is based on death rates from 32 diseases that could have been avoided with effective medical care. So the point to note here is a lot more needs to be done in our country. So 154th position out of 195 countries, right? It evaluates performance over 25-year period up to 2015. Look at the next one. Union Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said the government is considering exiting Air India operations. So Air India is into the losses for the past several years. And if you look at the aviation sector, at present, the market share of Air India is 14% and remaining airlines enjoy 86%. So all the remaining airlines put together enjoy 86%. Air India market share is just 14%. But the important point to note is Air India has got total debt of around rupees 50,000 crore. Most likely, it may be privatized either this year or next year. Then if you go further, UN Peacekeepers Day was celebrated world over on 29th May. What is the purpose of this Peacekeepers Day? This is to honor the fallen peacekeepers and at the same time to pay tributes to those who served or still serving in UN peacekeeping missions. And one more important point is India is the largest cumulative troop contributor, having provided almost 2 lakh troops in nearly 50 of the 71 peacekeeping missions. And when you look at peacekeepers, please don't forget the word blue berets. What is the meaning of blue beret? Blue beret is a blue colored beret used by various military and other organizations, notably the United Nations peacekeepers. So from examination perspective, the other name for United Nations peacekeepers is blue berets. Please don't forget. Then if you look further, the President of USA, Donald Trump, announced that America is pulling out of Paris Accord, and these things all of you are clear. I am not explaining these things. All of you are clear about Paris Accord. And what is the reason for withdrawal? The United States of America President stated that this decision is to protect American jobs. Second important point is the accord is discriminatory to USA in the words of American President, and at the same time American President also stated that India is allowed to double its coal production by 2020, whereas its mitigation efforts are with billions of dollars in aid. Of course, this is not without the fact, because India is going to increase the share of this energy production from non-fossil fuel sources by 40% by 2030, and these things please do not forget. USA is the largest per capita emitter, but if you look at the total emissions, China is the largest emitter. And third important point is India is the third largest emitter. The fourth point is India's per capita emissions are just 1/10 of those of America. So please look into this. Per capita CO2 emission in US was 16.4 metric tons, whereas in India it was just 1.6 metric tons. In Kerala, learning will go digital in the state-run schools from first standard onwards. Please don't forget, in the year 2005, this IT at school project was implemented by Kerala for class 8th to class 10th students. Now government is planning to introduce from class 1 also. If you look at the next one, Mauritius Prime Minister Pravind Kumar Jagannath visited India, and here India announced line of credit of $500 million. What is the meaning of line of credit? So this line of credit means the limit is given. The limit is $500 million, and Mauritius can borrow up to the maximum limit. If they want, they can borrow $200 million. If they want, they can borrow $300 million. If they want, they can borrow $500 million, but it should not exceed. Line of credit is revolving credit. Borrow and pay, borrow and pay, borrow and pay, but the limit must not be exceeded. Alright friends, if you look at the next important aspect, we are talking about Mauritius. Please don't forget, Mauritius as well as Seychelles. These two are in Indian Ocean. Mauritius, Seychelles, at the same time Madagascar. You are looking at Madagascar also. This is also in Indian Ocean. And another important aspect is nearer to Mauritius, there is Reunion Island. This is a French territory. So this Reunion Island is also in Indian Ocean. At the same time, please don't forget the east coast of Africa, predominant countries, South Africa, Mozambique, Tanzania, Kenya, Somalia. So these countries, please don't forget. Next one is Union Health Ministry has confirmed 3 cases of Zika from Ahmedabad and Guillain-Barré syndrome, microcephaly. Microcephaly is a shortening of brain. Then second point is Guillain-Barré syndrome, weakening of nervous system. These are believed to be associated with Zika virus. Then another important aspect is this Zika virus transmission is possible through sexual contact also, and Another important aspect is this is transmitted through the bite of an infected Aedes aegypti mosquito, which also transmits dengue and chikungunya. These things don't forget. And Myanmar is going to hold the second round of 21st century Panglong Peace Conference. Panglong Peace Conference is aimed at devising suitable federal structure. In fact, the first Panglong Conference was held in 1947. And if you look at Myanmar, I would like to tell you 3-4 points. Please don't forget Rohingyas. They are being persecuted badly and they don't have civil rights. They are of Muslims origin. So these things don't forget. And Myanmar is predominantly Buddhist country. Buddhism is the predominant religion in Myanmar. Myanmar shares border with 4 Indian states, starting from Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram. These things don't forget. And when you look at Myanmar, another important aspect is Panglong Conference. The Myanmar has got a number of ethnic groups. In 1947, effort was made to bring them onto the negotiating table, and subsequently from 1960s onwards, when the governance went into the hands of military, this concept was almost thrown to the winds, and subsequently several ethnic groups were alienated from the national mainstream, and now the government is trying to bring them into the national mainstream. That is the purpose of this Panglong Conference. So Panglong Conference, examination perspective, please don't forget Myanmar. Then look at the next one. IOC has overtaken ONGC to become India's most profitable state-owned company. So if you look at the private sector industries, the profitable company in the country is Reliance Industries with a net profit of around 30,000 crores, followed by Tata Consultancy Services with 26,000 crores. And Indian Oil is the company for 2016-17 which got maximum net profit of 19,000 crores in public sector. Then BSNL is planning to extend satellite phone services, and India applied to International Maritime Organization. Where is this International Maritime Organization? This is headquartered in London, UK, and here satellite phones. What is the advantage? Satellite phones advantage is they will be able to work in any part of the country, even inside flights, ships, as they depend on the signals directly from the satellite, which is around 36,000 kilometers away, right? So directly they will get the signals from satellite. So that is the beauty of this satellite phone communication. But the important point is they are costly at present, 40,000 rupees and more. And the traditional mobile networks cover 25 to 30 kilometers around towers, and there are several disadvantages of traditional towers, and this satellite communication is possible anywhere across the globe. Directly it receives signals from the satellite, right? So additional information I have given here, you can go through them. And India's plan to acquire rupees 1,000 crore Polar Research Vehicle. So this Polar Research Vehicle or PRV, what is the purpose? It is nothing but icebreaker. So this icebreaker can cut through 1.5 meters thick wall of ice. And India also announced plans to rebuild Maitri. It is the research station in Antarctica. And in view of this icebreaker assumed a lot of significance. Then the next one, historian Ramchandra Guha, one of the 4 members of Committee of Administrators. Please don't forget, Supreme Court appointed 4-member Committee of Administrators to look into the affairs of BCCI. And Mr. Ramchandra Guha decided to resign, right? So with this, let us conclude why and how. And please to join for other modules. Have a nice day. Thank you.